You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Stephen, welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Could you tell my guests, my audience, a little about yourself?
Sure. My name's Stephen Austin. I am a longtime, what I would call an energy specialist in the lighting world. Because of the pandemic, I found myself laid off, trying to figure out what the next thing of mine was going to be. And so sitting at the house, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create a networking group. So I did. And from that, podcasting came. And fast forward to today, I'm in the biggest role of my career. I've got a thriving podcast, what I would consider a thriving podcast. And I've got a networking group of my own, just exceeded 360 members, as well as I'm the president of a Fort Worth chapter for our good buddy, Donnie Bovine.
I knew it.
Yep.
I'm like,
so
some feels some familiar with that networking. There's only one man I know down in Texas that does that. The big boss himself, Donnie.
That's right. That's how you and I actually got connected. I don't know if you remember or not, but you had connected me with him.
Really? I connected you with Donnie?
Yeah. So I posted something and you were like, you should talk to my good buddy, Donnie. And so from then he and I got on a call and our conversation went from here to way over here. We ended up talking about something completely different. And now it's a networking and making moves in Texas.
Oh, that's what I love with Donnie. Like, Donnie was my first guest on the show and he literally helped me create a business out of thin air. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. He is like, the fact that he brings so much value to anybody. And even if he's not getting paid, he's just like, I just want to help people. And it's amazing. Yeah. So
full of knowledge on so many different, whether it's sales or podcasting or life in general. He's just so cool.
He has a very interesting story when you read about it and that. Yeah. So enough gloating about Donnie and how he's an amazing guy, because I'm gonna clip that whole first part and send it to him so he has this testimonial. He's like, look, these other people talk about me. So you were an energy specialist.
Yeah, so lighting controls more specifically. So I started in the electrical distribution industry, fresh off the FedEx truck. FedEx driver. My wife and I were in the process of like getting engaged and married, and we're like, I need something with benefits. And so I backed up to one of my warehouses that I always delivered to, and the branch manager was outside. He was like, hey man, how about working for us? And I'm like, I deliver you a brown box. I have no idea what's inside. And that's kind of how my electrical industry jump started. And then, just worked my way up throughout the years, and ended up kind of working myself into a specialist role. Is a blessing and a curse, because a blessing as a specialist is everybody needs you in the sense of projects coming out and really want to get your input on certain things. But the curse portion of that is when a pandemic hits, it's like the icing's the first to go on the cake. Like you don't need it to taste good, but it sure is nice to have that icing.
It makes everything feel better, you know?
Exactly. So that's basically the role of a lighting control specialist.
So the lighting is the cake, and you're the one who makes it all taste beautiful.
And we're the ones that try to use controls and make it fancy. We can control it with your phone. And
so you're the guy I need to come set up my house when I need. Okay, good to know. I'm glad that I have a lighting control specialist now in my network.
Yeah, exactly.
So pandemic hits. You unfortunately are one of the many that loses their job.
Yeah.
And so you started hustling, because I see your mug. You got a hustle mug. I love that. Very entrepreneurial. So what did you do next? Did you started building your community? What was the main entrepreneurial thing that you did?
Yeah. So I started building that Facebook group. I was just sitting. So I'm very guilty of this, but all the time I end up creating myself my own honey-do list. I was writing down projects like, okay, I'm laid off, so let's knock out this. And my wife's like, do you realize that you're creating your own list of things? Like there's only one thing on that list that I really kind of wanted you to do, but everything else is all on you. So
the reverse roles happening.
Exactly. I was like, it drives me crazy to sit at home. I'm always moving and shaking, trying to shake things up. And I started to think like, I knew how personally the pandemic affected me financially and my family financially. And I'm like, you know what? I need to stay involved somehow in the community. So how can I do that? Right. Well, at the time, Facebook groups were booming, right?
Yeah.
If you could create a community and Facebook group, you would be considered doing something somewhat successful, right? Yeah. If the group goes the way you want it to go. And so I started a Facebook group. For the first 6 weeks or so, it was pretty dicey. I mean, I had maybe 4 people that joined every week when I started doing these live calls every week. And then now we're at 362 members, do calls twice a week and just really building a community there. But because of that, my podcast was created. Like I'd always in the back of my mind wanted to create one, but I didn't know what that was. And so I thought back to, I got laid off financially. We've been affected. I'm thinking about now the DFW community in Texas, how we need to figure out a way to help them promote their brand through this tough time. And so now my podcast is called Empower Business DFW, where I simply interview local business owners and entrepreneurs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to help bring awareness for them to share and tell their story.
That's awesome. You're bringing, I love it. You're taking what I'm doing as a podcaster, but you're doing it super, super niche and localized, which your engagement would be through the roof because it's people in the area that will enjoy it. Like, oh my God, there's this restaurant or this business, and they may have not known about it because local mom and pops, if you will, right, don't have the money to pay for advertising. So I love how you're giving them this free advertising.
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome, especially when you start learning the origin stories. Everybody has an origin story. Everybody's got a reason why. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting when you start deep diving into those reasons, a lot of them pretty impactful stories. And, you know, the fact that all of that can be uncovered through a podcast episode, and I have the privilege and pleasure to help them put that out there. It's just a huge blessing for me.
I fully agree with you. I love discovering the why people start. Like that's the when you get that nugget, you're like, oh my God, that's great. You're like, your podcast is saying like you have everything you need as a podcaster. It's the best moment when you get one of those great golden nuggets. And your story is even just as good. You know, 2020 was hell for everybody, but here you come out, you've created a group, you have a podcast, you're building up businesses. Like you're the go-to guy in the Dallas-Fort Worth, can't even say it, the DFW area now.
Well, I don't know if I'm the go-to guy yet, but I just want people to know when they associate the logo with the podcast that it means something, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be a meaningful impact on just more than me just being a podcaster. Because I say this all the time. When I started my podcast, I didn't think about listeners. I didn't think about numbers. The only thing I had in mind was like, how can I help the community? And so fast forward to today, I'm just going through podcast workshops with Donnie and just learning as much as I can through, you know, YouTube and Clubhouse, just hearing everybody talk. It's like, I probably should have started a little different, created my avatar, done the correct pillars in order, but you know what? I'm a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy.
that's the big thing about podcasters and entrepreneurs. They're like, okay, this is the thing, this is the bare minimum I need. Okay, let's just go, and I'll build it as it comes. You know, it's you can't, Rome wasn't built in a day, they say. And building a podcast, like, you already know how to build a community, so that's a big thing taken care of for you, and you have a specialist, and you have the biggest thing is you just want to help.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, as a podcaster, you have to stop thinking of yourself and you have to start thinking of everybody else, because the show's not about me, it's about you, it's about the guests, and the listeners get to enjoy that. That's one reason I started this podcast. I was selfish before on my first show. It was all about the listeners. Like, how can I get more listeners? How can I validate my feelings, you know?
Yeah.
But this one is more about the guests and bringing more knowledge, and it's amazing. So since I guess you're not a relatively new podcaster, what are some lessons that you wish you learned when you were first starting? Or if you could go back and say, you really need to do this first before anything else, do this.
Man. All right. How long is this episode?
We can go for 45 minutes. You got time.
I'm just kidding. So there are a lot of things that I wish I would have known that, I probably would have done different. One of the main things that I say, if you're going to start podcasting, don't be so critical on yourself. Don't be so, I've got to have everything perfect. Your first edit, your first episode is not going to be perfect. Your first content, your first interview is going to probably be horrible. If you look at my very first episode, I used my pen and it was a nervous click. I did this the whole time. Click, click, click the whole time. And so towards the end, after we, stopped recording, my guest was like, you realize you just clicked your pen the entire time? I was like, no, I didn't. It was just a nervous tick. And it's just things that you learn, ways to interview better. Being prepared is the huge, especially if you're going to go, obviously there's difference between a solo interview or a solo podcast and a guest podcast, right?
Interview podcast.
Content is key, but you need to be prepared if you're interviewing somebody on the other side of the screen or the other side of the table. Mm. If not, it's just going to go bad. And, I'm on episode 35 now, and I'm just learning every week something new. So don't feel obligated that you have to know every single thing before you get started. Just start, because we're all going to fail at some point. Just fail right, fail well, and go for it.
And if you fall and can get back up, you're doing something right. No broken bones, no broken egos. Your ego's going to get hurt because you want to be a perfectionist. In this world, you have to be perfection, but you have to throw your ego out with the bathwater, because nothing's perfect. I remember my interview with Donnie, and I listened back and I'm like, oh, cringeworthy.
I think we all do that. I listened to my first episode recently, and everything else is evolving, right? Like your skills in editing. I mean, I think when I started, I was editing on Anchor. Now I'm with Audacity and just learning how to cut and splice and filter in music and overlay different things. And now you bring in the whole video portion of podcasting. Everybody wants a video podcast nowadays. So when you incorporate video, you're pretty much doubling or tripling your workload, because video editing is not an easy task.
No, it's
so
not.
It's just, man, you got to learn on the fly and do the best you can. And eventually all of that hard work will pay off.
Oh yeah, it pays off so much. Like, as long as one of the great things I get from podcasting is afterwards, either getting the feedback from either my guest or the listeners saying, like, oh my God, this was a great episode. I really like this. You have a great flow, or like the conversation seems like you're best friends. And I'm like, thank you. I've never met this person before in my life. And this is the first time we ever talked, and they have a great time. So for me, that's my main goal in a podcast, is either bring as much value or make sure my guest feels like they're just chit-chatting with a friend from old times,
Yeah. Don't be afraid to be criticized in a good way. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just like you. At the end of every episode, I always ask, like, what could I have done better? What questions would I have asked that you would have asked yourself? And those are things you just retain in the back of your mind and remember going forward.
Yeah. And what's great about this is I'm learning on the fly as well, like you. And I have a little notebook. I should have been doing this since season 1. Now we're on season 3. But I have, every time you say something good, I just put down the timestamp so that I know when I'm editing, I'm like, okay, this is a great part. I can use maybe this as a hook point or social media content or stuff like that. And it's practice.
Yeah. And that's something I need to get better on. So I'm learning from you too.
Hey, I learned it from a journalist friend, so might as well. I get my phone just going, and then I just have a notepad next to me, so it's all points. What's next for you, the podcast? What is something that you really, really want to have happen for your podcast? Do you have a list of guests that you are looking for, or what is it that's going to make it?
So I've
Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I've done with the guests is just simply, before I was putting more stress on myself by saying I've got to go out and find all of these guests. But then after I got to a certain point, I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I not just asking my guest, can you give me a name or two of somebody that you feel would be a good fit for this podcast? And from there, it's like, it's growing. So they're giving me 2, 3, 4, 5 names. So I don't have that added stress of going on LinkedIn and trying to prospect, just like I would be doing a sales list or a hot list before I'm starting to do sales calls. And so, it's just one of those, like, not putting that extra stress. So what's next for the podcast? I've got a lot of great guests coming up on the show. I'm also working with some local organizations and hopefully building some type of partnerships with them to help starting promote nonprofits and or just community organizations that really impact the business community, whether it's young entrepreneurs or businesses that have already been going for quite some time, just trying to help provide value and share the stories that everybody's trying to get out.
That's great. I love that. Just continually bringing value to your community and building that network of people that, that can help everybody involved. Like, you may not be the direct help, but you end up helping someone else because they're a guest on your show, or they're a former guest. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun.
Have you, as a podcaster, I've been podcasting for at least 5 years now. Have you had the lost episode yet?
The lost episode, meaning what?
You lose a podcast episode.
No, I haven't had that yet. I've been very fortunate that doesn't happen. And I was just talking with a buddy of mine yesterday. He's like, I love when I forget to press record. I'm like, oh, I mean, an hour long, interview, and it's going great and everything's good. And you're like, wait a minute, can we do that again? Because I forgot to hit record.
I just had one disappear into the ethos of the internet or the computer. The guy asked for the raw copy of it so that his people could cut it up, and I'm looking for it. I'm like, okay, we recorded this day. Where is it? Yeah. What? No, I lost it. Yeah. And it was a great interview, and I'm like, oh, I just lost like a good 45 minutes of content, and I feel horrible for my guests because I have to take more of their time to record. And so, yeah, that's always fun. I don't wish it on anybody, but every podcaster I've talked to have had the lost episode, the episode that disappears on you. So good luck not having it.
I'm hoping that now I'm going to be even more cautious, because that's the last thing I want to do, because right now I'm trying to stack as many episodes in the back burner as I can. But right now I can't afford to miss one.
Yeah. It's one thing I learned from my previous podcast was, getting a nice bucket that you can just pull out in case you're sick, or, everything's taken care of. So you have that, backlog catalog that just saves you time, because I've been on the deadline where an episode needs to go out, and it's like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And it was the shittiest episode I've ever done. So having the back catalog, and this is why I batch my recordings for seasons, just makes life a little easier for me. Yeah. Also gives me a lot more time to edit them, because I'm somewhat lazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's editing. It just takes so much time, and then when you try to rush it, you're just stressing yourself out. And then you got to ask yourself, like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it because what I thought was going to be fun, and now I'm putting so much stress on myself that is it still even fun? Mm-hmm. Because podcasting, you want it to be fun. If you're not doing it for the fun of it, then you got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? And then as your podcast grows, if you have revenue coming in, you can outsource all of that tedious work and really be in the face of your podcast and getting bigger and bigger interviews and guests and so on.
Yeah, no, fully agree with you about the outsourcing, because that's one of the major things that first thing I did was outsource my editing, because it's not fun for me. I don't like sitting and listening, because it takes another hour. You have to listen through it. Okay, the sounds good. Okay, do that normal things. Then you have to find the content, and are the ums and the uhs, depending on how, refined you want to get it. But the minute you have money to pay an editor, I'm like, yes, here you go. You'll do my editing. Great. Thank God.
My first 10 episodes, I was so particular on every ums and ahs and dead space, and even a longer dead space. I would shorten it up. And I finally got to the point like, you know what? This is just me. And obviously we built some type of following. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be thrown up by an ums and ahs. So I'm leaving it in. It reduced my edit time by like 70%.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah. And as you become a better podcast, you do more episodes, you're more conscious of the ums, the likes, the filler words. And so you try your best to eliminate them from your speech when you're interviewing, so that you don't have it. And you don't worry about your guest, because that's your guest. Like, you're supposed to be professional. And the minute I decided, no, I don't care about the ums and the big pauses. Like, if it's like a 30-second pause, I'll cut that down. But if it's a short little pause, let it just marinate, because it was there for a reason.
It's kind of intimidating though, because you're the podcaster interviewing a podcaster. So technically I should have my mastery down. So I've already said ums and ahs.
Well, here's the difference. I've been doing it for like 5-6 years, and you've been doing it for what, a year at least?
Yeah.
So I've had more practice doing it. And again, you're learning, right? Yeah. I taught you about the notepad, and now you're going to remember this conversation when you go. And my audience, if they start a podcast, they'll remember, okay, I have to be conscious of the ums and ahs. Always. Don't like kill yourself. Don't stress yourself. Like you said, it's still fun, but it's just sitting there, and you'll notice in your daily life too, you'll start eliminating filler words, which is very interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Sure.
Here we go. This is the one question I really love on my questionnaire. It's one tip you hope to share about your specialty and that you think my audience will take away. And you said, if you ever thought about doing something that may be considered out of the box for yourself, just do it anyways. Yeah. What did you mean by so what is out of the box for you? Was the podcast out of the box, or?
Podcast was out of the box. Networking group is out of the box. I mean, I was in the sales industry for a long time. And so I felt like I had to be in front of people presenting and just really have that connection from a sales experience. But it's different when you talk in front of a room, in front of 50, 100 people, than being behind the mic or a camera. Completely different. No matter which way you look at it, it's different. And it was completely out of the box for me. So it's taken quite some time to feel even somewhat comfortable. And even now when I get in front of a camera, I'm like, all right, let me get this straight. Let me get my bearings straight. But completely out of the box was probably starting a network group, podcasting, and just constantly trying to grow into something that I'm not familiar with.
I like that. That is true. I think I've never talked in front of a room of 500 to 500 people. I've acted on stage, but you don't see the audience because you got the lights glaring at you. And podcasting, I've always been fascinated by radio on that. So being behind the mic, but I think the first time I have to give a speech in front of an audience, it's going to be a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah, it's just different. And that's what holds up people a lot of times, is it's so out of the box that it's uncomfortable. But that's where a lot of people have to decide, do you want to get uncomfortable and try to make it work, or stay uncomfortable and wonder what would have happened if I would have done this? So instead of living in the what if, at least try it. And if you fail, you fell. I mean, but you failed because you tried it. It's not because you didn't try it. So that's usually my advice for anybody.
And it's true, because if we look at your story, you started as UPS or FedEx, correct? And then they offered you a job at a warehouse that you were dropping stuff off. If you said no, right, you would have never gone down this career path, never been a specialist, never made the connections in that. And who knows where you would have been. And you were like, well, I have a young family. Yeah. I need benefits. You have benefits. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, that's why I was so passionate about networking is you look at all of my jobs up until this point, it's because of someone I knew. Right. And so they always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that's accurate because I'm looking at my complete career up until this point, and it's all been because of somebody I knew. So it's just a crazy. And so that's why I push so hard about building a network, utilizing each other to build each other up, refer each other business, because if you're growing together, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I'm finding that now. And I think my generation, I'm not sure your age in this, but I'm a millennial, or zennial, or whatever you want to call it there. You know, I was before the millennial, like I'm nearly Gen X, like I'm just on the cusp of Gen Xers. And I find that we forgot how to network as we grow up. And I'm rediscovering, thanks to Donnie, his stuff really helps. And you realize how important the networking is. And I think social media is just taking it to the next level, making better networking groups. Now more people are learning, oh, it's about networking. It's who I know, not what I know or how popular I am. It's, you can be as popular as you want, but no one will follow you into a network.
Yeah, but you got to be cautious too, and not to follow the shiny object syndrome either.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, don't pay attention to somebody's highlight reel, and that's really what Instagram and Facebook are, right? That's their highlight reel of their life. So you really start to realize how somebody operates or the type of person they are by networking with them and getting to know them. So don't necessarily pay attention to the social medias, but I think if you're not on social media trying to build a network, you're missing out on a lot of things.
Yeah, you are. You're missing out on great connections, learning stuff that are new, because just talking with me and you, like, you've learned two things. I've learned something that I know I have someone in my network that can make my house look pretty and specialist if I need to. Obviously, I'm not going to just invite you over here to do that for me. It's a little long for you to get over here, but
bit of a drive.
bit of a drive. And with the border being close, it's a little harder to get over. I think I can sneak you in through a banana boat, but I don't think you want to be in that banana boat. What is one lesson you've learned from your entrepreneurs that you've talked to in the DFW?
Going back to just going for it. At the end of every episode, I always ask, really, how do you define success, right? And a lot of them will work up into that question of if they wouldn't have just gone for it, they wouldn't have done it. And so a lot of times I always ask the question of, how do you define success? And success is defined so many different ways, right? But a lot of times you're not hearing that, oh, I've got me a Lamborghini, or I've got this fancy house, or whatever the case is. A lot of, going back to social media, you're going to see a lot of things on social media that doesn't necessarily correlate with what is a true entrepreneur, right? And obviously it's generational, but majority of the answers that I hear from what is success, majority of it's just happiness. Like you truly enjoy what you do on a daily basis. You enjoy going to work. You enjoy what you do. Life is just so smooth.
You know what's funny? I don't ask that question. What do you define success as? But I love it because it's a great question. However, funny enough, I get that answer in some of my other questions, or it comes across in all the episodes, that it's, as long as you're passionate and as you're happy, you'll make money. And I think that, like, the way you literally break it down, I think I'm going to start asking that question at the end of my podcast. So thank you for that. So how would you define success?
Doing something you enjoy, being able to do that in a way to provide for your family. That's just, I mean, it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as I'm doing it, because my family's going to support me no matter what. If I'm happy, they're happy. And if we're not living in a huge mansion, driving a Mercedes, it's okay, because we have everything we need, and we're happy with what we do every day. So that's success for me.
I love it. It's so true. You have a roof over your head, belly full of food. What more do you want? You don't need a fancy car. It would be nice, of course.
It's really nice.
But as long as it gets you from point A to point B, that's that's all that matters. And everyone you care for is taken care of. I like that. I like that answer for what is success. I like that. It's simple and it's true.
That's all I can think about,
I did put you on the spot. Usually you're the one asking that question. So yeah. I understand you didn't have time to think about it. We're coming up to the end, which really sucks because I love having conversations with people longer than 30 minutes, but I'm going to give you this time. I'm going to jump off the screen so that you have the full screen to yourself. And I'm going to give you the next 5 minutes. You can promote whatever you want, and where we can find you and all that fun stuff, Stephen.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Well, thanks again for having me, man. I'm super excited. I love talking to podcasters and loving the community that podcasters build, right? I mean, for me, if you're interested in following the podcast, it's called Empower Business DFW on all of the platforms. You can search for that on Facebook or on Instagram. Probably Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of us because you're going to see our content. You're going to see a couple snippets of all of our guests. Huge shout out to all of my guests that do come on the show, because without them, my show is really nothing. And I'm super grateful for everybody that comes on and who is it within my Empower Business DFW podcast tribe community. I'm super grateful, and I'm super grateful for my family for all of their support, because at the end of the day, if they're not happy with what I'm doing and I'm not happy with what I'm doing, then why are we doing it? So I'm just super grateful to be on this podcast with you, Phil. And just thank you for letting me be here and spend some time with you.
Damn, that was some good brown nosing at the end. Even I'm impressed. And I usually do all the brown nosing. But yeah, no, first of all, thank you for being a guest, because it's always, like you said, without guests, I have no content. I have nothing to give to my audience. And you being not a new podcaster, but someone who is now probably, I would say, an amateur podcaster. You went from your journey is great because it informs other people that they can make a business around it and it can be successful. So thank you very much for that, Stephen, for showing that and how great podcasting is, because I've been preaching it for the last 5 years.
It's underestimated, underrated, but eventually 5 years from now, everybody's going to understand the true value of it.
Yeah. I love that. And I think, the next 5 years, we'll definitely see the value. Stephen, thank you again for being an amazing guest. Thank you for listening in to the show. This is Invest in Yourself with Phil Better, my amazing guest, Stephen Austin. Please make sure you follow him on all social medias. The links will be in the show notes down below. And remember to invest in yourself.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank you so much for watching the show and listening to the podcast. As a thank you, remember, you can always head over to my website, fulbetterinc.com, and get free 15 minutes with me to talk about how you can grow your podcast, how to monetize your podcast, or even how to start your podcast. I have helped lots of people, and I want to help you do the same for your business or just for your personal brand. So again, that is fulbetterinc.com. Head over there, book your free 15 minutes, and it'll be a pleasure to help you out. Have a good night, and remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.